If you're just starting out in Realm Royale and you enter your first game, you'll immediately notice that there's something different about this game compared to other Battle Royale games. And that's the fact that there are classes. 5 at the moment, with more to come. But which one should you pick? My name is DukeSloth, and today we'll be looking at what the best class in Realm Royale is for you. But first, I'd like to mention that Realm Royale is free to play and available on Steam right now, so if you want to check it out right away, there's a link down below. Before we get into the classes, let's quickly talk about what sets the classes apart. All classes have access to a unique mobility ability. These abilities have very different effects. Some mobility abilities may be better than others, and the rest of the abilities can kind of make up for that in some cases, and they all have unique uses as well. On top of that, every class has 4 additional abilities. These can be additional mobility abilities, but they can also be all kinds of different abilities, ranging from damage abilities to more supportive ones. However, you can only carry 2 unique abilities at a time, plus your mobility ability, so a total of 3 unique abilities. At the same time, all of these abilities, including the mobility, have different levels of rarity, so you can get better versions of them, and that depends a little bit on luck. Also, you're only starting out with your mobility ability. As such, sometimes you won't get exactly the loadout of abilities that you want, or you may want to switch it up if you get a very rare version of one of the abilities that you typically don't use that much, but in that particular case, because of the rarity, it can simply be better. Last but not least, every class also has a legendary weapon, which can be crafted for a relatively high price in the forge and will have a unique effect too. These weapons are usually the strongest ones in the game. And as if that all wasn't enough, every class also gets a unique class passive, so you can have a different effect on your character at all times, depending on which class you're playing. With that out of the way, let's talk about the classes. The first one is the Warrior. The Warrior is the all-rounder class in Realm Royale that can do various things pretty well depending on which abilities you utilize on him. He's a great frontliner due to multiple abilities that give him a little bit more health or armor, or just generally allow him to get to the front line. He is a very good all-in character with those same abilities as well, and he's also a great support as he can easily heal and shield allies too. This combination of abilities makes him great not only in solo gameplay but also in duos and squads. He can really fit in everywhere. His mobility is Heroic Leap. With that, he can jump not only very far forward but also up to higher levels of buildings sometimes, and when landing he also deals damage. The speed of the leap is decent, so it doesn't make you too much of an easy target. The 4 abilities he can pick up are the following. Charge, a quick dash forward that always deals 400 damage on a relatively short cooldown. Flask of Healing, an AoE healing ability, so it heals teammates too, that heals up a decent amount of health over time. The healing scales up with the rank of the ability here, while the cooldown also goes down. Net Shot, a 200 damage ability that flings a net forward at the enemy, slowing them when they are hit. The rarity also determines the amount of slow as well as the cooldown here. And last but not least, Shielding Potion, a potion that is thrown on the ground similar to the Flask of Healing that shields you and your allies. In this case, the shield amount goes up with the rank and the cooldown goes down. So, as you can see, the warrior has multiple ways to get closer to the enemy and to avoid their damage or heal against it. His passive also works in that way, giving him 5 health regeneration per second, meaning he's not as dependent on potions as other characters are. Last but not least, his weapon is the Throwing Axe. The Throwing Axe deals 800 damage at the moment, so quite a decent amount, and it is a rather close range weapon. It has a relatively slow projectile speed, but it's a very wide projectile, and most importantly, it falls down in a curve and doesn't fly straight like most other projectiles, so it takes a bit to get used to, and the closer you are, the easier it's to land. If being in the face of your enemies and soaking up a little bit of damage is your thing, then the Warrior is for you. Next up, the Assassin. The Assassin is your archetypical sniper/stealth class. Not only is he the only class with a proper scope, but he also has multiple abilities that allow him to avoid damage or find enemies before they find him, or just make himself invisible. The Assassin's mobility is Blink, a very short instant teleport forward. Different from the Warrior's ability, you will not actually have a travel path where you can hit, and you will also not deal damage upon arriving. At the same time, this ability allows you to teleport through windows, a benefit only shared with the Mage's mobility. The 4 abilities you can pick up are as follows. Concussion Bomb, a bomb that knocks back enemies and deals damage to them, but can also be used to knock yourself back without taking damage. This allows you to basically grenade hop, as it's called in other games, throw the concussion bomb under you after jumping, and you can get to much higher places you otherwise could not reach, or simply use the concussion bomb on its own for that. It even covers a decent amount of vertical distance if thrown right, so this is basically a second mobility if used correctly. Ghost Walk, on the other hand, increases your mobility directly through increasing your movement speed, while also making you immune to enemy damage for its duration. At the same time, you can't attack while using it. Sensor Drone is a drone that stays in an area for a moment, the duration here depends on the rank of it, and will reveal enemies walking into that area. It's basically a small wall hack, and that's the way it's usually used, either to scout out enemies in buildings or to make sure that you're safe in a place where somebody might come in. Smokescreen throws a smoke bomb on the ground, and while in the area of that smoke bomb, you're completely invisible. You're not immune to damage, but the enemy can't aim directly at you as they can't see you, so only AoE abilities have a higher chance of hitting you still. Also, certain actions will reveal you while in the smokescreen. The assassin's passive is simple, he gets 10% extra ground speed. His weapon is the sniper rifle. This is the only weapon with an actual scope to aim down, and it comes with the highest damage of all weapons in the game as well, and it also has the highest headshot multiplier in the game. However, it also has a very long reload time and only a single bullet, so you have to aim very well, and it's often advisable to switch off the weapon after firing your first shot. That's it for the first two classes. We'll cover the rest in part 2 of this video tomorrow. Again, if you'd like to check out Realm Royale, the link is down below. My name is DukeSloth, and I thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you all for the next one tomorrow. DukeSloth, out.